I didn't know I was dying. I didn't feel the moment my body gave up, or when darkness swallowed me whole. There was no dramatic goodbye, no final thought, just a sudden, endless quiet, as if the world had decided to move on without telling me. For 15 days I lay in a hospital bed, my body still but my life quietly unraveling. Machines breathed for me. Tubes fed me. Monitors beeped steadily, like they were counting down something important. Nurses came and went, their voices hushed, their faces cautious. They spoke about me like I wasn't there, like I was already gone, but I was still alive. I just couldn't speak. I couldn't move, I couldn't protect myself. They told me later that my husband was listed as my emergency contact, that I had signed the papers years ago without hesitation, trusting the man I loved with my life. I never imagined those signatures would become permission slips for betrayal. In those 15 days, he had full control. At first, he came every day, or so the nurses said. He sat by my bed, held my hand, whispered things I'll never know were real or rehearsed. But slowly, his visits became shorter, then irregular, then non-existent. No one questioned it. Husbands get tired, they said. Trauma is hard, they said. No one thought to look closer. While I lay suspended between life and death, my phone buzzed endlessly on a bedside table. Messages unanswered, calls ignored. My silence was mistaken for consent. Somewhere beyond those hospital walls, papers were signed. Documents were stamped. My name was used without my voice. The condo, the one I bought years before I ever met him, the one that carried my sweat, my savings, my independence, became a transaction. I didn't hear the pen scratch against paper. I didn't hear the door close behind him. I didn't hear the sound of my life being sold. I remember fragments from the coma, dreams maybe, or warnings. I remember standing in my living room, watching strangers carry out my furniture while I screamed and no sound came out. I remember reaching for my husband, only for him to walk past me, holding another woman's hand, his face calm relieved. I tried to wake myself up. I couldn't. On the 12th day, a nurse noticed something strange. My husband hadn't visited in days. No flowers, no calls, no questions about my condition, just silence. On the 15th day, my fingers twitched. On the 15th day, my eyes opened, but the world I woke up to wasn't the one I went to sleep in. At the time, I didn't know any of this yet. I didn't know that while my body was fighting to survive, the man I loved was making exit plans. I didn't know that trust could be weaponized so quietly, so efficiently. All I knew was that my chest hurt, my throat burned, and my first instinct, my first foolish instinct, was to ask for him. My husband, the man who was supposed to be waiting when I woke up, the man who instead had already left. 15 days of silence, and in that silence, everything I owned, everything I was, had already begun to disappear. Waking up was not relief. It was confusion first. Bright lights slicing through my eyes, voices overlapping, my body heavy and unfamiliar. My tongue felt like sandpaper, my throat burned every time I tried to swallow. I remember panicking, thinking I was buried alive inside my own body. Someone noticed. A nurse leaned over me, her eyes wide, her voice trembling as she called my name. Hands touched my shoulders, gentle but urgent. They told me I was safe. They told me I had been asleep for 15 days. 15 days. I tried to speak, but only a rasp came out. My lips shaped one word before my mind could stop it. His name. The nurse hesitated. "I'll let him know you're awake," she said, too quickly, too carefully. Hours passed, then a day. My husband never came. Doctors explained my condition, the accident, the coma. They praised my strength, my recovery. Everyone seemed so proud of me for surviving. No one noticed that the one person who should have been there was missing. I asked again. They said they couldn't reach him. By the third day, unease settled into my bones. Nurses exchanged looks when they thought I wasn't watching. A social worker came by, asking questions that didn't make sense yet, about my home, my finances, my support system. When they discharged me, reality hit harder than any diagnosis. There was no husband waiting with flowers. No warm car ride home, just a ride service ordered by the hospital and a plastic bag holding my belongings. I told the driver my address. When we arrived, I knew something was wrong before I even got out. The building looked the same, but it didn't feel like mine anymore. The doorman frowned when I said my name. He checked his tablet twice, then shook his head. "You moved out," he said. I laughed, a sharp, broken sound. I told him there must be a mistake. He didn't laugh back. My keys didn't work. The lock had been changed. Through the glass, I saw a stranger's furniture. Someone else's life. That was when the world tilted. I called my husband again, straight to voicemail. I called my bank. My account was frozen. I checked my email, my hands shaking as I scrolled through notifications. I had never seen property sale confirmations, legal notices, automated messages thanking me for my business. My condo had been sold while I was unconscious. I slid down the wall and sat on the cold marble floor, my hospital bracelet still wrapped around my wrist like a cruel joke. My body had survived, but my life had been erased. A nurse from the hospital called later that night. She hesitated before speaking, like she was choosing words that wouldn't break me. She said she didn't know if it was her place. She said she thought I should know. She had seen my husband at the airport 2 days earlier. He was laughing, holding hands with a woman she'd never seen before. They looked excited, free. He didn't look like a man whose wife was in a coma. She whispered. That was the moment something inside me shattered completely. It wasn't just that he left. It was that he left while I couldn't stop him. He took everything, my home, my money, my trust, and walked away as if I were already dead. That night, I slept on a friend's couch, staring at the ceiling, my body aching, my heart numb. I survived 15 days in a coma. I didn't know how to survive waking up to nothing. For days after I lost everything, I cried the way people cry when there is no one left to impress. Silent, exhausted, emptied out. My body was still weak from the coma, my muscles aching like they belonged to someone else, but the pain inside me was sharper, more precise. Grief is loud at first, then it gets quiet, and in that quiet, something else begins to speak. I stopped calling his phone. Stopped rereading our messages, stopped asking people if they'd heard from him. I realized that chasing answers wouldn't bring my life back. Understanding wouldn't either. What would bring it back was remembering who I was before I trusted the wrong person. I began with small things, walking a little farther each day, eating meals without crying, sitting up straight when people spoke to me instead of folding in on myself. Strength returned slowly, but clarity arrived all at once. The condo had been mine before the marriage. I remembered that like a spark catching fire. I had bought it with my savings, my overtime hours, my discipline. My name alone was on the original documents. Love had convinced me paperwork didn't matter. Reality corrected that lie. I requested hospital records, consent forms, visitor logs, dates and signatures. I studied them like they were puzzle pieces. Every detail mattered now. A lawyer agreed to see me. I expected pity. Instead, I got focus. She listened. She asked precise questions. When I told her the timeline, coma, sale, disappearance, her expression hardened. He had no legal authority, she said, and he knew it. For the first time since waking up, I felt something that wasn't pain. I felt power. We uncovered forged signatures. Documents rushed through while I was unconscious. Money transferred overseas within hours of the sale. He hadn't just left. He had planned. That hurt more than anything else. But pain, when held long enough, changes shape. I imagined him with her, laughing, celebrating, believing he had won, believing I was weak. that I would stay broken and ashamed, too overwhelmed to fight back? He was wrong. I didn't announce what I was doing. I didn't post online. I didn't tell mutual friends. I let the silence work for me this time. Behind the scenes, motions were filed, accounts flagged, the sale challenged. Authorities notified. Each step was quiet, deliberate, patient. Revenge doesn't need an audience, it needs timing. At night, when doubt crept in, I reminded myself of the hospital bed, of the machines breathing for me, of how easily my life had been taken while I couldn't speak. I wasn't doing this out of hatred. I was doing it because I deserved my life back. Weeks passed, then months. Information trickled in like dominoes falling. His money was running low. The mistress had no idea the condo wasn't legally his. Their perfect escape was built on lies, stacked on lies. And lies always collapse. One afternoon, my lawyer called me with a calm smile in her voice. "He's coming back," she said. "He has to." The accounts were frozen, travel flagged, legal notices sent to his last known address. He could run, but he couldn't disappear forever. I pictured him landing at the airport, confident and unaware, believing he was returning to a closed chapter. I was no longer the woman he left in a hospital bed. I was awake, I was waiting, and this time I would be the one deciding how the story ended. He came back on a Tuesday. I knew because my lawyer called me before sunrise, her voice steady, almost gentle. Immigration had flagged his passport. He was on a flight home, unaware that the ground beneath him was already shifting. I didn't rush to the airport. I didn't need to see his face the moment he realized the truth. Some awakenings deserve time to sink in. He landed smiling. At least that's what the officer later told me. He joked in line, complained about the wait, glanced at his phone like someone who believed the world still belonged to him. Then the smile faded. Questions came first, polite ones, then sharper ones. Papers appeared, names were checked. Accounts reviewed. His luggage sat untouched as time stretched thin. He asked to make a call. That was when my phone rang. I almost didn't answer, but I did. His voice was frantic, unfamiliar. He said my name like it was a spell, like I could undo what was happening if I wanted to. "I didn't know where else to go," he said. "There's been a mistake. I let the silence breathe between us." "There was," I finally replied, 15 days ago. He started talking fast. Excuses, explanations, apologies stitched together so poorly they barely held. He said he meant to come back. He said he was under pressure. He said he loved me. I thought of the hospital bed. "The machines, the empty room, no," I said quietly. "You loved what you took." By the time he was released, the damage was irreversible. The condo sale had been reversed. The funds seized pending investigation. Fraud charges filed. Every shortcut he took had circled back like a trap. His mistress learned the truth the same day. The shared future she believed in vanished with the frozen accounts. She left without a word. I didn't blame her. She was collateral damage in a plan built on deception. He tried to see me. I declined. Closure doesn't require proximity. Weeks later, I stood in my condo again. My walls, my windows, my life returned piece by piece. The space felt different, not broken, but reclaimed. I changed the locks myself. I framed the original deed and hung it quietly in my bedroom. Not as a trophy, but as a reminder. People asked me if revenge felt good. That wasn't the right question. Justice felt good. Peace felt better. I didn't celebrate his downfall. I didn't need to. The life he tried to steal from me became the life that saved me. I lost 15 days in a coma. He lost his illusions, and the woman who woke up, stronger, sharper, unafraid, was someone he would never have access to again. Some betrayals destroy you. Others introduce you to who you were always meant to be. And this time I walked forward fully awake.